Okay, as you can see, the ownership for the memes will be displayed at the bottom there, as you can see. I have another meme I will be showing broadcasting through this video, and what I wanted to do is take a minute to explain what the current objective of all gang stalkers is, as far as what they're doing, and as far as why they're doing the obnoxious things that they do. Now, if you notice, a lot of the behavior that these particular individuals do is based on attention. They will cough, they will do obnoxious things as far as bending themselves over, and then they'll turn around and try to point the finger, saying, well, why are you looking? When it's pretty obvious they parked themselves in your line of vision and did that. They will, and unfortunately, yes, these people have done perverted things as far as touching themselves in public. Some of them have even gone as far as even dropped their trousers in public. These people, I don't believe, have any type of shame whatsoever. But what I wanted to do was to take a minute, a little bit of your time, if you got, and just hear me out on this. What you need to understand is there's a reason as to always as to everything that they're doing. It's all systematic, as we all know, and in the end, you got to ask yourself why are they so desperate? And it's true, they're being paid. So so take a look at what they're doing, and they're being paid, right? So put two and two together, and then you start to understand what they are being paid, for. They are being paid for your attention. The whole primarily of this thing, of every orchestrated gang stalking operation, is all based off human experimentation and research. They're researching you to find out what you're most vulnerable to, what you will react to, what actually gets your attention, what will most likely strike a noticeable response. And this is primarily what it's all shifted towards. Everything, really. There could be some personal goals in mind when it comes to this, as far as this stuff is concerned. Because I mean, as far as from what I've seen, they spike your food. They've been known to do that on multiple occasions. And if they start trying to offer you anything, and one thing I will again stress on is never accept anything from a perp. No line of clothing, no type of trinket, no food, no water, no nothing. Do not accept anything, and I do mean anything, not even electronics, not no money, nothing at all from the gang stalker. I don't care what it is. I don't care how badly you may need it. Do not accept anything from them. There is something sinister behind a lot of stuff. Um, the other thing I wanted to touch on is some information I found out. And turns out they get paid $100 per photograph taken of you. They get $100 when they key in your location to their handlers, and the people who manage the handlers. So there is a lot of paper trails behind a lot of the stuff that they do. As far as the photography in your picture, I have a strategy that I normally do. Unfortunately, some people didn't do it right when I announced it. And what I meant by carrying a flashlight is you got to have the flashlight in front of your face, and it has to be shining towards them. The reason why I said to do this is simply, especially at night, is because, well, it prevents them from getting your photograph. And what this does is a reason as to why I'm saying you need to do this. And if they can't get your photograph, by the way, if they can't, they're going to get desperate to get it. The more desperate they get, the more they blow their own cover, and the more it makes it obvious for your evidence. And believe you me, they will definitely desperately try to get your photograph. I've seen it in the act. I played around with the situation for a bit just to see it, just to see how desperate they would get to do it. And trust me, they couldn't get it along the street when I was walking, but they went and actually parked near the bridge, near my apartment complex, just to get the photograph. They parked themselves up there and had themselves posted, even went as far as to even desperately getting out of their cars for the photograph. And that's my main point of how desperate these individuals get. When you give them that attention, When you actually say, "Look, there's a gang stalker right there," you pointed out, you acting all loud and stuff like that. You trying to draw attention to them and everything like that. I get it. I truly get it, but you need to understand that that's actually more of a benefit to them because they're basically still paying into their whole goal. Their whole goal is bent towards your attention. Don't instead be selfish with it. Tell them, no, I know you're getting paid for this, and I'm not going to give you my attention. I'm not going to pay no mind to you. I don't give a crap if you trying to show your ass off to a dude. I mean, that makes, and you trying to call, like, for you to do that and you to try to call me that, no. Sorry, buddy, but if anything that brings question to anyone's sexuality is yourself. Because technically you're being paid to basically display yourself that way, and you seem to be quite willing to do so, so that seems more questionable towards that, the gang stalkers in than you. And you know yourself way better than them. They're going to act like they know everything about you, but in reality, you're the only person who makes yourself reality. Forget about your past. Forget about that. Move on. Move on. You live in the present, but you need to do what's better to ensure a better and brighter future for yourself and for those who you care about who are not a part of this terrorist organization. Um, I've heard stories and reports about the new constitutional rights they plan on posting, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend you to really look in that because that is really questionable. And honestly, from the situations, it's questionable whether it's even possible to even prevent such a thing from being passed. I'm not going to touch too far into sensitive bases on that because I've heard that YouTube do check down channels primarily because they touch on too much of that topic in a specific direction where they don't want it to be in. So I won't go as far as to there. And again, like any type of content that is not produced by myself or anyone who I may have paid or hired to produce said content, it will not noticeably be. I'll always point out the fact that their ownership for any type of material that is made by any other party unrelated to this, or just using as reference, it's all of its sole content goes to those who gathered that information and those who put it together and articleized it and such for so forth and so forth. Um, but yeah, basically they get paid off your attention. I'm not saying don't record them. You're gonna want to record them because if for your own safety. But in a way that I would recommend you to do this, do it with the body cam. Do it with the body cam. Do it with something. I would say have hidden equipment, but honestly, the courts, as crooked as the court system is, they still frown upon stuff like that, even though they're full of crap and they've long since did shady stuff all the time. They've done a lot of stuff like that. It's only when you have so much indisputable evidence that where they cannot dispute it, they can't set you aside for anything like that. You have too much proof justifying your situation. You got to understand, you got to look at this from a logical perspective. We already know how far this stuff goes, but you got to do it within the basis and the confines of the law as far as it can honestly go. Because honestly, as far as this whole scenario truly goes, we could take it there, but honestly, we're fighting a losing battle when we do it that way. And it's only when we do it bit by bit that we actually make a really big difference. You got to start small before you can move on tall. That's the only way to do it. And it's a lot of unsafe methods that they have. They got people out there pretending to be TIs. That's one problem that we got. You got another scenario where they'll go out there, but like I'll see them on social media and they will diffuse a lot of the beneficial things that get said. One of the things I wanted to really research on is binaural beats. Now, I started to question this, and they say that binaural beats are dangerous, right? First off, I use binaural beats, and I'm not saying they can't be dangerous. I'm not saying that they cannot. I'm open to knowledge here. So basically, what I'm touching on the basis is, if it's so dangerous, here's my question: what do you think is even more dangerous? People trying to infiltrate your mind with certain, psyop technologies and stuff like that, like the nanotech, the synthetic telepathy stuff, or simple tones to tune down. Because if you ask me, it seems like whenever you're calm, whenever you're not paying attention to whatever the crap these people or individuals are doing, as far as the gang stalkers are concerned, it seems like they really get pissed off. It seems like whenever your attention is not directed towards them, it really starts to piss them off, and they'll do just about anything to get it. And I'm not even joking. I've had a guy bump into me just to get me to pay attention to him. And yes, it is that desperate. They will literally do some nonchalant BS just to actually gain your attention. But you need the trick is to learn to turn that against them. And in this video, I'm going to give you a lot of the tips that I found out about that's definitely going to help you around and actually diffuse a lot of the BS that they will try to pull on you. The first one will be, well, when you have your TV playing around, playing off, right? And you got the noise going on, and they'll try to call in a police cruiser or something to check in on the situation. I got a way to dispute that immediately to where they can, to where you can pile that on them, and then it'll start to even piss them off because then you'll get the point to where you can file a complaint on them, and that way the whole scenario backfires on them. I got this going in multiple different scenarios. First off, the first scenario, again, the sound. When you're playing your TV or whatever, you're just ignoring them, or you're playing your video games and stuff, and they call the squad car to go check in on your apartment, and they make a falsified complaint saying that there's a noise complaint, right? First off, if you do got the TV playing on, record the level of the volume you got it at, right? Record the level of the volume you got it at, and keep the recorder on. So the next time they do call the cops, you got your evidence there. So when they do show up, from the time that they do show up, you can go ahead and stop it. They can see that, well, the volume was clearly at the same level as from when they showed up, and as far as from when they were on their way or whatever, right? So they're going to also do a time frame. Now, this is why I say you want to do this like as you're turning the television on, because that way the sound isn't playing until you turn it to a channel. You got the recorder before you even go on, before you even turn the TV on. So the volume level is already viewed, and it's not even turned. This is with digital or even with non-digital types of analog volume bars, right? And this is how you want to handle this. You want to keep doing that. You want to date it, time it, and remember, they're going to end up calling the cops like after a little bit after you start playing your stuff. So that's how you got a time frame to show that these people intentionally did that. And the more and more you have that, that starts to point to more and more to stalking, and that's when you get ready to use that against them. The other topic I want to touch on is when you order out some food. You got to understand, if they fuck with your food and you order out, you can actually sue that company. You can sue the mess out of that company for tampered food, and they don't want you to know that. You can literally take that as your evidence and go to court with that and sue the crap out of those organizations for tampered food. Because you got to understand, if you order something from Domino's, if you order something from Pizza Hut, and they tampered with your food, and you put that motherfucker up against a microscope and you see something that does not belong there, other than the ingredients that are supposed to be there, you can take them straight to court for that, for tampered food. And they will have, you got to understand, these gang stalkers' main objective is to hurt your financial status, and it's to basically put you in the state of being poor. It's to break you down from not just a social but also a psychological level. You got to understand all the things that you can possibly do within the confines of the law when it comes to this. The stalking, that can be used against them. The harassment, that can also be legally used against them. The freaking food tampering, that can also be used against them. I would say invest, and this is why I say it's best for TIs to team up. And honestly, that risk taker is worth it, because what they do is when you're gone, they go through your shit. I'm sorry for swearing. I am trying to turn my life over around to God and Jesus, but I'm also doing some research because I know that they like to mess around with Christianity a bit. So I already know not to follow the parts to worshiping the false god, and that's another thing you got to understand. As deep as this organization is, you really got to understand Christianity and the Book of the Lord and all that stuff has been around for many generations. But you got to understand what an organization like this that does this stuff, it's also had previous versions of itself existing throughout the decades. So you also got to ask yourself, like, are they also screwing around with Christianity? In which I'm pretty certain, when it comes to the Lord and God Himself, I'm pretty quite certain they are. Now I've started looking into preachings of Jerusalem and all that stuff, and I'm starting to find that a lot of the words there gives deep emotional meaning as far as Islam and all that stuff is concerned. And it says within his books that there were false prophets who also came down just as well as the messenger did. And what that person was doing, or what that entity was doing, was basically trying to, project itself as God. And one of the first testaments would tell you not to follow a false god. So I'm telling you, you don't have to question your faith or anything like that. I'm not even asking you to do that. I'm just saying, for your own sake, for your own safety, do the research. It's better to know the full truth and to have a good understanding of things than to not know at all. That's all I'm saying on this basis for that. Now then, as I stated for the food, you can sue the mess out of the company that if you have tempered food, because that's highly illegal for them to do that. You could sue just about any freaking food stand, any type of food chain network at all for tampered food. So if you see anything, remember, if you order anything out, if you order anything on the go, check your food. If they do anything to that food, if there's anything in that food, you got them. Basically, you got them. Don't eat it, keep it, and file a big freaking lawsuit against the company, and that's gonna give you some money. Now, another topic I wanted to touch on is the following around. It's illegal for people to follow you from your job to home. You want to do is, and trust me, they're gonna rotate these people around. But the more and more often you catch them, what you want to do is, as you're leaving, right? As you're leaving, this is why TIs need to team up. Because if you have a partner in this situation, it's a lot easier to keep tabs on these people for when they're coming and going. You can't keep tabs on a person because they're going to end up phasing in and out as you're coming and going. But if you have someone already pulling up a little bit earlier on the scene who sees the people patrolling around and gets them filmed, then their cover is blown. They can't hide nowhere, because if they do, he's already done spotted just about every single one of them. At least you need TIs in teams of two at the very least. At the very least. That's why I'm sending out encouragement. Reach out, team up with other TIs. Do that. I understand that you can't trust. It's hard to trust, but you gotta understand there's ways to be able to tell a fake TI from a real TI. First off, what is this person, this so-called TI, carrying around two phones? That's a clear sign that that person is a gang stalker. If they got more than one phone, don't socialize with them, because they're a gang stalker. If they're checking their phone every 5 to 10 seconds on the clock, right? 5 to 15 seconds or even 20 seconds on the clock constantly, they're a gang stalker. And if they're not doing it in front of you and they're saying they gotta go somewhere for a quick bit, they're probably checking in on that phone, and if they're doing this often, that's a gang stalker. If the person's if the person is doing anything, and I'm telling you, that's a clear sign that person's a gang stalker, because half the stuff you do, they're not gonna wait and do that crap after a little while. No, because they gotta do that right then when it happens. They gotta do that stuff right when it happens. Otherwise, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. That's the whole point as to why they scan you for your EEG, what you don't realize, but they're doing it behind the scenes. As I said it before, like when they do this, there are going to be people around you that do not want to be seen. Period. In one of my videos that I haven't uploaded yet, I showed evidence of this, and what it was is there were street theaters around, but if you see the video, you'll see that the EMF was still being beamed on me even after the guy had moved. So it was pretty obvious it was still coming from that specific direction, but after the guy had moved, it's pretty obvious that he was just a decoy. He was just a decoy. So they're not gonna be anywhere near you. It's close for you to be visible to visibly see them with that stuff. You gotta understand it. They're gonna be far off, at least enough of a distance to do it. But I actually came to the realization that they had to be somewhere nearby, at least to be able to use it. They can't be 100 kilometers and stuff or 100 miles and stuff off. That's not gonna happen. Because if they think about it, if they beam something like that from someone from that distance, they could be hitting anybody. They could be hitting anybody with that, and they wouldn't even know if it's even the right person or not. So they gotta be at a certain distance. Yes, this stuff has been researched and it has been shown to go through the face, through walls and whatnot. It has. It truly has. But at the same time, it has to be the equipment that they use to scan, like to literally pinpoint this stuff, has to be somewhere near you. That's why they're desperate for your location so much. You ever wondered about that? If they can literally find you anywhere just like that, even if you run off with, like, let's say you run off with electronics, why are the gang stalkers so desperate to find you? You gotta really wonder about that stuff. It's too much of their behavior that's a dead giveaway to a lot of stuff, you know. But yeah, they get paid per your location. They get paid per photograph. That's why I say if you travel around at night, keep a really bright LED flashlight. Put it in front of your face, not on your face, but at least in front of it to where you can have your face blurred out if they try to take your photograph. Again, it makes their stalking that much more desperate. Um, as far as in the daytime, I'd say just wear a hoodie or something, you know? Just wear a hoodie. You be dang lucky if it's the wintertime, because then you could have an excuse to wear a face mask. And you can have both the hoodie and the face mask on, even a pair of goggles, and nobody would even bother to try. And if anybody tried to question you about it, it would be a pretty stupid, stupid thing to report, because it's in the middle of winter. It's cold out. It's understanding that it'd be suspicious if someone wore something like that. I mean, not even a hoodie would be suspicious even in the summertime. But around times as far as I'd say like winter, you got it made then, because then you can hide your entire face. And I'm telling you, they will freak the heck out over that alone. They would freak out. I've seen videos to where they would even have the gang stalkers post up and even ask the target individual, why don't you take your hood off and stuff like that. I've seen videos like that. I have. And you got to understand, you can actually, you have so much you can use against these people, because anything illegal these people are doing, the people who have hired them to do this, they are not going to freaking take no responsibility for that at all. So again, like when it comes to food, don't be afraid to order anything out. Don't be afraid to go to a restaurant, because remember, if they do anything to that food, if they do that and they serve you that food, you can sue the crap out of them. And they know that, but they don't want you to know that. If you catch them following you from work to home, that goes way beyond a felony. That goes straight into incarceration if you can prove it. But you see, they don't want you to know that. These gang stalkers are basically attention whores. Paid off attention whores who are being paid primarily for your reactions. they're going to do stuff that you can't necessarily count as harassment. I've seen a TI go out of his house. It was because it was some targeted individuals, not targeted individuals, but gang stalkers playing around with their porch lights. You gotta understand, they can do that. They can f around with their porch lights all they want. You can't stop them from doing it because they own that. You gotta really look at this from a logical perspective. What can you do and what can you not do? And what can they do to get away with, and what can they can do to where you can actually get evidence of to actually take they behinds to court with. Remember, these gang stalkers can still get sued. These gang stalkers can still go to jail. These gang stalkers can still go to prison. They're not a, they may be paid by undercover law enforcement, but they're not above the law. Don't make that mistake. They are not in no way, shape, or form. They would want you to believe that. They would only prey upon your ignorance of it if you allow them to. Do what I did. Do the research. I tell you right now, I'm not even afraid to go out and get fast food because you want to know why? I already know. If they F with the food, that's payday to me. That's payday to me because I could take that I could take that specific food as evidence, do a recording of when I ordered it, when I got it, do an inspection of it. If I see anything out of order, if they had it on the floor and they still try to serve me that, I could sue the crap out of them for it because they're still on camera doing that. You got to remember, an organization would rather fire the crap out of a worker who would do something that foul than to freaking have a lawsuit. They would rather freaking do a settlement with you than to have you go as far as suing the entire company. They would rather have and have it, especially have it go newsworthy. They would rather settle with you and just pay you some money just to keep it out of the viewpoint of the media. And you want to know why they would do that? Because if it goes to the media, it's gonna hurt their reputation. They would rather pay you off to just turn the other cheek on this, and we'll just fire that employee or employees that are responsible and replace them. They know this, but they don't want you to know it. You gotta understand, the one thing they would constantly do is attack your finances. They would do this. They will literally mob the crap out of you in your workplace. They will do this on your from your way home. They will do this at your home. They will constantly do this, but you gotta understand, it's not just about getting your attention. It's also about infecting you with negative energy. Everything that they do is filled with nothing but negativity. Everything, every word, every syllable coming out of their mouth that pertains to you or is directed at you is nothing but negative energy. You gotta flip that negative energy that they're infecting you with to positive energy. You do that, then you come out on top at the end of the day. They when they try to say no, 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 you be negative, you say no, I am positive. I'm not going to be converted into a negative person. I'm going to be a positive person. It ain't a flipping darn thing you can say or change to do about it. You want to go around sitting there bending your behind over for dudes? Go on ahead. It ain't gonna change. It's not gonna change my viewpoint. No kind of way. You want to go around sitting there doing all this embarrassing stuff for money to sell your soul? Go ahead and do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually continue to worship and actually pray and actually seek redemption to the Most High and not allow myself to be condemned by money, which is the root of all evil. I'm not finna. Just remember. Just tell yourself this. Remind yourself of who you are. Remind yourself of who you don't want to be. because I'm telling you, this organization will desperately take your identity from you. And when I don't mean through identity theft, I'm talking about through your actual mental identity. They will do that to convert you into what they want you to be. But what you need to do is put your foot down and say, no, that ain't gonna happen. I love me, and I'm gonna stay as me regardless of whatever you or whoever thinks of me. I won't be consumed by your lies. I won't be consumed by your slander. I won't be consumed by your hate. I will not be misled by anything, shape, or form that you have to do. So you can go ahead and keep on doing and keep on with whatever you're doing. But I'm going to move on. I'm going to flip the channel on you. And I'm going to keep flipping the channel on you and tune you out. Because I know that I am worth it. And the people who I love and care for are worth it. I'll tell you one thing though. Don't pay attention to these gang stalkers. Don't. Live your life. When you get off of work, watch a movie. Whatever movie you want to watch. It don't even matter what the heck it is. Just say, screw it, I'm gonna watch something. Or even whenever you now honestly before I even touch on any of the other bases, you got to understand the coworkers who are probably going to most likely tamper with your food, they're going to do whatever they can to try to hide their BS. But like I said, this is why you want to have camera footage as you're doing it, and be mindful of your laws. Just want to point that out. But again, when it comes to restaurants, that's public property, so you're okay to film that. Even if people are around, it doesn't matter. It's still public property anyway. The only places I would recommend you to take extreme caution of is when it comes to private property. In the state I'm in, when it comes to conversations, as long as you're in the conversation, you can record the audio. But if you are not in said conversation, it is illegal to record that person. And let's say if you find out they're recording you and you find that somewhere out on the net, well, they're fucked. You find that anywhere, they're screwed. That's why the my gang stalkers was really desperate to get me through this on this program stuff that they got going on, because they know the fact that they would actually have this amount of fear it already tells me they know for a fact that if I really wanted to, without a shadow of a doubt, I could actually get all the evidence that I really wanted. You should, as soon as I even went as far as to even announce this to them too, to their face, to one of their handlers' faces, and you should have seen the reaction they had. All of them went dead quiet within the last 5 hours. I didn't hear it. I didn't see no street theater. I didn't hear no words. I didn't hear jack nothing. And they don't understand how the internet works. I still don't believe they understand how the internet works. Again, you share anything on the net. You share anything on the net, it is stuck on there. No amount of deleting will change that. It will always be there somewhere. But you see, they would get as comfortable as to believe that that is not the case. Sorry, but it is. And if they obviously they still do this, so obviously when you share this with a bunch of people, they're gonna share with other people, and that's how it continues to carry on and carry on. And I'm telling you, it can't be anybody that's sharing this stuff, and they won't even know who it is that's sharing it. And then eventually it gets to people who they don't want it to get to, and they're exposed. That person who it gets to is like, oh, well, I know this person. Why don't I give that person a call and let them know what I have found? But you see, they don't think about that. They don't. They will gladly share and spread these trifling slanders that they do amongst a bunch of people, and they know what this technology does. They're fully the people who are doing this, who are fully devoted and actually understand this. The people who do the sensitization stuff, I believe they personally know what this stuff does. But the ones who do the street theater, the most embarrassing things, honestly, I don't think they have a freaking clue. It's the veterans that know exactly what this stuff is and what the sensitization stuff is about. But I'm telling you, if they think they can erase their guilt, they are dead wrong. I've already spooked one of them today because I had gotten a phone call from him, and he even tried to play it off as if like he didn't even like know what was going on. But I know that was a bunch of BS. Again, they started freaking out as soon as I actually did the little research. And again, I'll say it before. I said it before. I'll say it again. If they prank call you, you can actually find out and trace to where that phone number is coming from. Even if they're using a government phone, you can still find out where that's coming from. If they're hitting you with different IPs, you can set up an algorithm to where it is constantly tracing those IPs the minute they are scanning through your systems, and then you'll eventually find out who those people are and where they're coming from, or at least their location. I would go into the algorithm for that, but that's for another video. But that's just to give you an idea of as far as communications are going, because you got to understand if there are communications that are coming to you, there's a possible way to send another communication going to them and to trace where they are at and where they are coming from. And I'm telling you, if you trace something like that from the same property you are in, let's just say they're going to get way sensitive about that. Let's just say they will get extremely sensitive about that because it would prove that you got people in your vicinity who are trying to hack your equipment. It would show foul play on their end, which there always is. So what you got to remember is, again, live your life. Get the evidence, but don't allow getting the evidence to consume and control you. Don't get excited about it. Because remember, this is out of an attempt to take back your life. Their whole goal is to grasp your attention. Be selfish with it. And remember, to all my fellow targeted individuals, you matter and you're never alone. May peace and tranquility be with you always as much as you possibly can. And remember, do what I did. Look at the scenario you're in, look at the steps they're doing, and use that against them. This is MM's TI Strategy Guide. I'm over and out.